Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your boy Kenny, and this is my review for Xscape Still Kicking It episodes 1 through 4. I decided to do one episode because I just want to put all of them together. But yes, I was so here for this series because I normally don't do reality shows, but I'm a huge Xscape fan, and I definitely wanted to talk about these 4 episodes because I was literally blown away. Some of this information I've already known, as well as probably some of you have already known as well, but this actual reality show brought a lot of stuff to light. So yeah, I definitely wanted to say something in regards to Xscape because I've been a huge fan, and I definitely grew up on their music. I remember when I was 10 years old, I got this party machine, with a microphone. It was like a little karaoke machine, and the first song I sung on that was Just Kickin' It. And I remember that like it was yesterday. So Xscape definitely made an impact on my life. But before I get started with this review, let me first, offer my love and condolences to everyone that was affected by the tragedy in Texas as well as Las Vegas. Also, everyone that was affected by the hurricanes Harvey, Irma, Jose, and Maria. And if you can give any kind of relief or support to anyone affected by these tragedies, please do so because our fellow man needs our help. Now, pretty much in episode 1, we see that Kandi is not really feeling the Scott sisters. And we definitely see there's a lot of tension between Kandi and the Scott sisters. And definitely, a lot of that tension definitely stems from the past when they were, in their prime. Kandi and Tasha definitely butted heads. And we actually come to find out that Tasha was pretty much the eldest out of the group, because at the time they were all in high school. Tasha was a senior, Tiny and Tamika were sophomores, and Kandi was a freshman. So Kandi was the baby, and we see that throughout their career, Kandi and Tasha always butted heads. But after the group disbanded, Kandi was pretty much telling everybody, and she's always stuck to this, the reason why the group broke up was because Tasha was pulling some sneaky moves trying to get her own solo deal and was trying to use the group to do it. And Kandi pretty much told this in every format when she was asked about the group. What was it that broke you guys up? And she would always say because Tasha was trying to get her solo deal and was pretty much, using their last album as like a launching pad for her solo career. So, because Kandi was out publicly talking about why Xscape broke up, Tamika takes it upon herself saying that I got to defend my sister. So she goes on the radio and literally bashes Kandi and says that Kandi slept around with Jermaine Dupri, and she also slept with his daddy, and she sleeps around with everybody in the industry. That's what Kandi do. And that actually hurt Kandi to her core because at one point her and Tamika were very close. They were like very, very tight. And for her to go out there and publicly humiliate her like that really upsetted her. So we definitely can tell from this first episode, she has not been dealing with them Scott sisters for years. And she's definitely holding on to a lot of, past aggression and also, past trauma from when they were in the group, especially after what Tamika did. Because what ended up happening is that Tamika did apologize to Kandi, but Kandi also wanted a public apology, which Tamika did. But then Kandi is questioning, did you do that because you were sincere, or you did that because you was just trying to get some money? Meaning you did this so we can actually did you just apologize so we can actually get the group back together and you can get back out there? Because we definitely can tell that, we definitely know that the successful ones out of Xscape who pretty much made something out of themselves was Kandi and Tiny. So we see already from the bat, there is still a lot of tension between Kandi and the Scott sisters, Tasha and Tamika. We also see in this episode that Mona Scott Young is their manager, and we see that she actually got them an opportunity to perform at the BET Awards, which will be like their first performance in about 18 or 19 years. You know, they have been on hiatus that long. And they're excited about it, and they actually start rehearsing. And Tamika is hilarious because, Tamika was late to rehearsal because she was having problems with diarrhea, and Tiny was like, girl, if you don't wipe your behind and get up in here. And like, Tamika's like, you are not showing any compassion for my booty hole. I cracked up. I was like, who the hell says something like that? But it was cool, though. It was hilarious. So we definitely tell that, Tamika was just kind of like the crazy one out the group. She's the one that's most outspoken. She's the most live. Tamika's a mess. And we actually see them, working with Andrea Kelly, who's also R. Kelly's ex-wife, but she's a really good choreographer. And baby, her body is snatched. Baby got body for days. So we see her working with the choreography, but we see that Candy is not a dancer, and they're trying to create this set, they're trying to work on their set list as well as choreography for this BET Awards performance. And pretty much they only got a few weeks to do it. So we actually see that Candy, and Tasha, Tasha, has come up with the set list. And you can just see that Candy is just not here for this at all, because she's feeling like this whole thing is moving too fast, and she wanted things to go slower. But, the match has been lit, and the rest of them are like, yeah, let's get out here and do this. People want us. There's opportunity out here to make a lot of money. Let's get out here and make this happen. But Candy is not ready to move that fast. And we saw when it came down to that set list, Tasha's idea was that they start off with Feel So Good and end with Just Kickin' It. And Candy was like, why would we do that? Our biggest hit was Just Kickin' It, so we should start off with that. We also get an appearance from T.I., at the rehearsal, and Candy asked him, as far as like our catalog, do you think it's smart for us to start off with Just Kickin' It? And T.I. agreed with Candy. And we can definitely tell that made Tasha feel some kind of way. And it was just hilarious. But we definitely tell in this first episode that, yeah, Candy is not really here for it. There's a lot of tension. She feels like they're not all on the same page. She feels that Tiny and the Scott sisters been talking, but Candy feels left out, and she doesn't feel like she's being included. So we see that Tiny and Candy have a conversation in the parking lot, and, pretty much Tiny's like, what's going on? You pretty much said that, everything was good, but it's like now you're giving me all this. Where's all this coming from? And Candy's like, look, I wanted us to get together just to see whether we can still be around each other and whether we can still have some possibility to work together. But it seemed to me since we came together, all of a sudden the business immediately starts. You guys put my name on a company without my permission, and all of a sudden now we're getting all these business dates and stuff, and I'm not ready for all that. And I deal with you, Tiny, because me and you are tight, but I haven't dealt with them Scott sisters in years, and I don't know if I'm ready to jump in and do anything. And Tiny just completely bluntly told Candy, are you in or are you out? Pure and simple. So we definitely saw that go down, and I admit I was with Tiny. Because at the end of the day, Candy, if you're not really feeling this shit, then walk away. Because at the end of the day, you don't need the money. I mean, we've seen that Candy has made a big, successful career for herself. So she really don't need this. But then again, Candy don't want to disappoint her fans. But then she feels like she's being dragged back into this whole Xscape thing, and she doesn't know she really wants to fully be a part of it. And we also learned in this episode that Candy does have issues with forgiving. So there's still a lot of issues she's having with Tasha and Tamika. and she's not really ready to be all about working with them. So we got that going on in episode 1. Episode 2, we actually see that, Candy meets up with Tan at, the Lady Gang restaurant. And we actually know Tan from, as being Candy's friend, but also Tan was the 5th member of Xscape. And, before they got famous, they had this manager, and the manager didn't like Tan, and he told the girls that either you guys get rid of Tan, or I'm not going to manage you anymore. At the time, they felt they needed a manager, so they got rid of Tan, but Candy has always kept in touch with Tan because Candy still felt bad because she felt that we should have had her back, and we shouldn't just, got rid of her for a manager. But we can definitely tell that Tan is still hurt and bothered by what happened, in the past as well. So her and Candy talk about, her issues with the group and how and where she feels, and she feels that everything is moving too fast, and they're now making me obligated, to do things that I really don't know if I'm ready to do this, as far as, going on tour or as far as doing any dates or doing any business with them. So she's like on the fence. I don't even know if I really want to do business with these motherfuckers. But here it is. They done put my name on a company without my consent. And personally, I can understand why Candy will feel that way because Candy's a businesswoman. And one thing about business people, they do not, and I repeat, they do not like it when you use their name. And so, yeah, Candy kind of feels slighted by that because she's feeling like she's just being used to get this Xscape business off the ground, and she's pretty much being dragged into a situation where she doesn't feel that she signed off on. So we actually see that Candy and Tan have this conversation, but then they also reveal they also talk about Tasha and her husband Rocky. Now Rocky used to be their manager during their albums Off the Hook and Traces of My Lipstick. And, Rocky was also Tasha's boyfriend at the time. So Candy pretty much said that at one point me and Rocky were cool, but when he became our manager, he was very inexperienced as a manager, but then there was a lot of favoritism because he obviously favored Tasha. So any type of management decisions, it was all based on Tasha. Tasha had, Ricky, on her team, so it was pretty much Rocky and Tasha against everybody else pretty much. And she pretty much talks about that because she says that, look, Rocky can be Tasha's manager, but he is not going to be managing this group. So then we also see in episode 2 that they actually have a group meeting that Tiny decides to call because she pretty much sends the band away and sits the girls down and is like, look, we need to clear the air about a lot of things because there's some miscommunication here, and I think if anybody has an issue, we need to bring it to the table. And I'm glad that Tiny did that because Tiny was like, if you have issues with the group, you need to bring it up to them, and we need to talk about it. Tiny's like, I'm not going to be the go-between, you feel I should run and tell and speak for you, and then I got to run and speak for the Scott sisters. She's like, we need to sit down and we need to hash this out. So we actually get the conversation going. Candy admits that she's not on the same page with them. She's not really feeling this. And then like her and Tasha's like, what do you mean? You said that we were back together and now things are moving. Now you trying to back out. What's going on, Candy? Why do you feel this way? What's going on? And then all of the old stuff started to come out where Candy was like, well, the reason why we broke up is because you was trying to get your solo deal and you was trying to use us to do it. And I wasn't gonna be I wasn't gonna be clown like that. I wasn't gonna sit up here and look like the Pips to your Gladys Knight. And Tasha was like, that's not true. That's not what really happened, and all of this. And I'm like, Tasha, really? Because it's plainly obvious that, yeah, you got a solo deal, and it's plainly obvious that, yeah, that probably was the main reason why you guys disbanded. I mean, you probably had other issues as far as internal issues because you were all young girls who were growing up to be women, so you all were growing up, so therefore, you know, people were changing and people were developing. So yeah, going through that process, I'm pretty sure there was a lot of internal fighting and bickering and all that going on. But what really really, you know, closed the coffin on Xscape was that Tasha was trying to get her solo deal, and she was doing it, you know, pretty much under the feet of Xscape, and Candy wasn't here for it. So we actually see that Candy, and then, you know, Candy pretty much says that I always felt like an outsider in the group because it was like I always felt like it was you and your sister against me. You know, I always felt alone in this group. And we see that Candy and Tasha go back and forth, and Tasha actually brings up Candy's brother Patrick. Now, Candy's brother Patrick was was pretty much kind of like that mediator of the group, but he had passed away when Candy was 15. He had got in a car accident in Mexico. And we see that at that time, Candy felt like her rock was gone, and she even admits that if her brother was alive, Xscape would have probably lasted longer than they did because he was a very good mediator. And pretty much Tasha admits that she had a crush on Candy's brother, and she talks about a time when Candy and Tamika were fighting. He broke them up, and he says that I don't ever want to see this between you two again. You both are sisters. So Patrick was all about the group and was definitely that person that kind of guided them in the right direction. But after her brother passed away, Candy felt alone, and she said she always felt like she was never really fully connected with Tasha and Tamika. And, you know, we see that they have somewhat of this emotional moment, you know, but then, you know, Tasha's like, well, I didn't know you felt this way. I didn't know you, I always thought everything was good. I never knew you felt this way. I'm like, Tasha, you knew. But at that time, you didn't care. But then again, I think Tasha is worried about how she's going to be viewed on camera. So she's like, I never knew you felt this way. You know, this is my first time hearing about this. I'm like, no, it isn't, sweetheart. You knew what was going on. And personally, I think that is what happened as far as the group. You pretty much was making some sneaky moves to get you a solo deal, and you were going to use them to do it, because even Tiny even said, and actually backed Candy up in this meeting, because Tamika didn't say anything. But Tiny was like, yeah, that is what happened, because our lawyer came to us because we were going to get $4 million to do traces of my lipstick, but then our lawyer said that you weren't going to promote it because you'd be working on your solo deal. So because of that, it went down to $800,000. That was pretty much what we got for, you know, the third album. So it's pretty obvious that's what was going on. Then after that happened, we see that Tasha and her husband Rocky have a sit down and they talk. Now Rocky told it like it was, and Tasha's like, I don't understand like why Candy feels this way. I don't understand why all this stuff is coming up. You know, all of a sudden, all of this is just. I'm just kind of wondering, you know, where is this gonna go? I mean, because, you know, is Candy really on the team or whether she's not? And, you know, I'm trying to understand what to do in this situation. But Rocky told it like it was. He was like, this is probably how Candy's feeling. She's thinking you went off to do your solo project and it failed. And with that, I went off and became successful, and now I got to come back and help your ass. And it's funny, because that's exactly how Candy felt. That's exactly how she felt. She don't really fuck with the Scott sisters like that, and now she's feeling, I gotta help these two bitches, the two bitches that I didn't get along with, the two bitches that gave me the most hell in this group. I gotta help and pull them up, and bring them on my platform that I worked so hard to build. So yeah, that's exactly how Candy feels. But Rocky told Tasha the truth. Like, look, what you need to do in this situation, you need to be the bigger person. You need to make nice with Candy. You know, you need to make this work. Because Rocky knows, at the end of the day, you need Candy to get this thing launched. So your best bet is to play nice with her. And we actually see that, you know, Tasha goes to Candy's studio, and Candy actually plays to her the set list, you know, for the BET Awards show, and she talks about the song Understanding, and Candy said that she wants to, you know, do the version where Candy actually hits the high note, and Tasha was like, yeah, that could work. I'm like, yeah, you better make it work, boo-boo, because at the end of the day, you know, if Candy ain't on board, none of this is going to pop off at all. So we see that happen. And then also in this episode, we actually got to see another side of Tamika. We actually got to see her as a mother. And we actually see her daughter, Ocean. And we remember that Tamika was actually pregnant with Ocean during the video Love on My Mind. She was 8 months pregnant, but yet she was dancing and still killing the choreography. I mean, because what was going to happen is that their manager wanted to let Tamika go because it's like, girl, you pregnant and you in an R&B group. We ain't going to have a pregnant woman in the group. But Tasha, being the voice of Xscape, pretty much stepped up and was like, if Tamika goes, I go. So they kept Tamika in the group, and they all, as a team, you know, supported Tamika. So we actually see her daughter, Ocean. Ocean is about to get married to her childhood sweetheart, and we also see her, and we see that Ocean is definitely a very calm and laid back, whereas we know that Tamika is like the life of the party. We know Tamika crazy. But then we also meet her other daughter, Tanaya. Now, Tanaya is literally a spit image of her mother. Like, the youngest one is just like Tamika. They live and everything, so it's cool to see that go on. And we also see Tamika's husband, and Tamika got her a straight diesel dude. Like, dude is big, you know, he's built, and I'm like, oh, I know he be tearing Tamika up. I ain't mad at you, girl. And then we also see in episode 2, Zonique, Tiny and Candy's daughter. We see that Tiny talks with Zonique. Zonique is also performing at the BET Awards, but she's performing during the pre-show, whereas Tiny, along with Xscape, is performing in the main show. And we pretty much, you know, see them have a moment. And Zonique has definitely come a long way. I mean, we'll remember her in the OMG Girls, and now she's a solo artist, and she's on T.I.'s label, and we're seeing her come into her own. And then we actually get that Mama Joyce. Mama Joyce is a mess, but we actually see that the girls have a lot of respect for Mama Joyce, because Mama Joyce was like an aunt to those girls. You know, she talked about they used to rehearse at Candy's house. Mama Joyce used to help buy their outfits, and she also used to, you know, help them as far as their performances and making sure that their harmonies was tight. You know, Mama Joyce don't play around, and also Mama Joyce tells her like it is. Like Tiny even said that she was kind of like that aunt that, you know, because they all grew up in church. But she said that, you know, Mama Joyce was that kind of auntie that kept it real with you. Like, she would say things like, never marry for love, marry for stability. I was like, that sounds like Mama Joyce all day. So we see Mama Joyce comes in, and, you know, to see everybody, and we actually see that, you know, she still has a connection with all of them, because after, you know, Tamika did what she did on the radio, Mama Joyce cussed Tamika's ass out. And so Mama Joyce wasn't playing. And they all had that respect for her as being like an aunt to them. So Mama Joyce asked, she wanted to hear them sing, you know, hear what they're working on. And, you know, Tamika's like, oh, hell, we better get this right. Because, you know, Mama Joyce don't hold back. She'll let you know. So they performed for her and everything. And she's like, okay, you guys you're sounding good. I need to work, but yeah, you guys sound good. And then they was talking about the choreography. Mama Joyce shut that down. She was like, forget the choreography. You all are singers. Let somebody else do all the choreography behind y'all. But you guys should just sing. because that's what people want to see. People don't want to see y'all trying to be like these new acts. They want you the classic act. They want to see that you guys still have it. And that was actually pretty cool because, you know, Mama Joyce, I actually agree with her. That, yeah, you guys, this is crunch time. Y'all need to just really be more worried about making sure your vocals are right versus getting these dance moves, because it's crunch time and, you know, none of them got the choreography down at all. So we see that go on in episode 2. Now in episode 3 was the good one, because this episode they actually go meet Jermaine Dupri about this whole situation with this unauthorized biopic, and that he actually leased their music. You know, he pretty much made a deal with this unauthorized biography, so they want to get to the bottom of it as to why would you do that. And also, we also find out that, you know, Tiny pretty much says that she's noticed that anytime Jermaine Dupri has done interviews or anything, he never mentions Xscape. And Xscape was the first group on his label. I mean, the first act he worked with was Chris Cross, but Chris Cross was on another label. But after his success with Chris Cross, he created his own label, So Def, and the first act he signed was Xscape. And he actually discovered Xscape because they performed at his birthday party. So we actually see that, you know, here it is, this is his first act, but he never talks about them publicly. And, you know, this definitely makes Candy feel some kind of way, especially for the fact that her and Jermaine used to mess around back in the day. So they all pretty much, they all get together to have this meeting with Jermaine about this whole unauthorized biography situation. We see in that whole meeting, Tasha did not say one word, and it's because she feels loyalty to Jermaine, because she says that, you know, if it wasn't for Jermaine, we wouldn't have had the success or the career we had. He took a chance on us, and we became successful because of Jermaine, and I'm loyal to that. Yeah, you can be loyal to that, but when someone is doing something that you don't agree with, regardless of how loyal you are, you have a right to speak on it and to get things together. So Candy was definitely not feeling this whole situation, but we actually see when they were in the meeting, you know, Jermaine pretty much just kept it real with them. He was like, yeah, you know, these are my songs. I leased the unauthorized blog. I pretty much did the deal because at the end of the day, you know, I'm trying to get me some money, you know, and on top of it, you know, it's actually helped you out because you guys are now together again. Now, he said that what you guys really needed was some fire put under. What you guys really needed was some fire, you know, you needed some fire to be put under your asses to get you guys back on track. So we see Candy really ain't hearing this, and she's like, you know, why would you just betray our legacy like that? And he's like, I'm not betraying your legacy. If anything, I'm trying to save your legacy. And that's the reason why I'm doing this deal, because whether it's an unauthorized biography or not, it's making you relevant, you know. And whether good or bad, all press is good press, you know. So that's pretty much how Jermaine's thinking. But we can definitely tell that Jermaine is a businessman. He's all about making that coin, and he's all about turning a profit. So we actually see that Candy at this, you know, in this meeting is not feeling it. She even flips him off and said, you can sit on this and spin. I ain't got time for the bullshit. Because he kind of said that I knew this was going to happen. I knew this was going to, I knew you guys were going to end up being together after doing this. Now, Jermaine, I don't know if I agree with you there. But I do agree with the fact that he pretty much told him that, look, y'all are petty. Because all this time, y'all been mad at each other. Y'all could have been resolved your issues and could have been out here getting this money. But y'all chose to stay in your shit. And now it's like going 18, 19 years, and you guys have been on hiatus. And we haven't heard anything from y'all. So he pretty much decides in this meeting, all right, I'm gonna throw you a lifeline. And he didn't have to do this, though. He says, this deal I got going, I'll hold them up and give you guys time to tell your own story. So therefore, you can profit off of your own story, and then I can lease the music to you. So they pretty much made that deal. But yeah, then Jermaine just pretty much let it be known that, look, I did this because, for one, I'm trying to get paid, and right now my catalog is just sitting because you guys aren't working, so I'm gonna use my catalog to do what I gotta do. But he actually threw him a lifeline and said that, look, I'll give you time to work on your biography, and I can lease it to you guys. But then I think he's also going to still lease it to the unauthorized one. So Jermaine is about getting that coin. So we also learned in this episode about the real truth as to what broke them up. And Jermaine actually in his meeting said that when they asked him why he never mentioned Xscape, and he pretty much bluntly told them that, look, the reason why I don't mention Xscape is because every time I'm asked about that, they always ask about the breakup. And honestly, I don't know why y'all broke up. And if anything, I'm just not going to get into it because I don't know the answer. So the best way to avoid it is to just not mention you at all. And we can see that they were not feeling that at all. But he pretty much made a point, because and then, like, in all honesty, they all have different reasons why they broke up. But Tasha is still denying my solo deal had nothing to do with this and all of that. But Candy shares the tea, and she tells it. She pretty much said that when they were in the group, Tasha one day sat them all down and was real smug and said that, Tiny and Tamika, y'all can go on and continue to have babies. Candy, you can do your little modeling thing. I'm going solo. It's about me now. Now, what makes you think after saying some cool shit like that you still had a group, Tasha? Huh? You still constantly saying, well, me going solo had nothing to do with the group being, about the group disbanding. Both Candy and Tiny said it was Tasha going solo that broke up the group. But Tasha don't want to own it. And that's the thing that makes me mad with Tasha. Tasha, just admit that at that time, you was a ruthless, spotlight-hogging bitch. You wanted that light. You wanted to be Diana Ross. And you was like, and people was filling your head up and letting you think that you didn't need them. You are the star, and you can just disperse them because it was more like, hey, I ain't got no connection to Candy, and as far as Tamika and Tiny, y'all just backup singers. I really don't need y'all. It's all about me. And we can definitely tell this about Tasha because even when she was on R&B Divas, we kind of saw this tendency. She's all about her. And when Candy told that, I was like, that's what really happened. You doing this solo deal and pretty much saying that, and then pretty much what really pissed Candy off was that here it is, you were using our album, Traces of My Lipstick, to launch your own solo career. And it's like we were just going to be discarded, and you were making all these moves around us. But Candy has some moves of her own because what ended up happening, she gets with Jermaine. Jermaine and her become like a little item, and he also probably he put her on game. He was saying that the power is not with the girl who's on stage singing. Okay, let that girl be out in front. The power is behind the pen. And the pen is mightier than the sword. And what do we get with this pen? We get There You Go by Pink. Pink's first hit and debut song that, she co-wrote with Pink. So Pink owes her launch to Candy. We also get Bills, Bills, Bills by Destiny's Child. And we get the infamous, No Scrubs by TLC, which her and Tiny co-wrote and won a Grammy. So, pretty much, Candy learned the business and has become very successful. She's pretty much been on The Real Housewives of Atlanta for a number of seasons, since season 2. And we see that she has other business ventures. So, Candy has literally become a businessman in her own right, where Tasha went off with this solo deal, and after Jermaine left Social Death, her solo career went down the tubes. It literally just fell apart. you can kind of say it was actually karma, because here it is, you were quick to give your group members your ass to kiss, thinking you was going to become this big solo star, and then everything just fell apart. Whereas Candy became successful, and now she's winning. So we definitely saw all that go down. Also, they're still doing work with the BET Awards. We pretty much see that they're having rehearsals with Drea Kelly, and she just pretty much just went down like, look, this is my craft. I'm not fooling around with this shit. Y'all need to let me know. If you don't want something, you need to tell me right now, because they are not getting the dance steps. They're just not in sync with the movements. So they decide we're gonna scrap the dance steps because we don't have that much time. We just need to go and focus on our vocals because we need to get this right. And we also see that Tiny, pretty much everybody gets together, and they head to Los Angeles. Well, yeah, they head to LA for the BET Awards, and everybody got their families except for Tiny. Tiny and T.I. right now are estranged, but they're still married. And she was wondering is T.I. going to see her first performance back with the group, and she also wants to know, is he going to even show up to Zanique's performance, because Zanique is on T.I.'s label. And we see that T.I. didn't show up. We actually saw, Tiny went to go see Zanique perform in the pre-show. They hurried back, and we also see that they, have some, they pretty much have their wardrobe comes in, and Mona Scott Young had them set up in this really nice mansion. And it was also kind of funny that Tasha's husband Rocky and Candy's husband Todd, they actually were cool, and they were like talking about Xscape and how great it is that they're reuniting and that they're really doing this. I mean, the public has been waiting for this, and now there's no telling how far this will go. So while they were trying on their clothes, Candy picked out this black jumpsuit with and with one sleeve or whatever. The rest of them got their wardrobe and everything, and we see Tamika got a whole bunch of provocative outfits, because Miss Tamika got the big boobs, and as Mama Joyce said, she got an astro ass, and she's pretty much flaunting hers. But there was this jumpsuit, this gray jumpsuit that Tamika had picked out. Tell me why the hell this damn Candy's messy ass goes to try on Tamika's suit. But I have to admit, the suit looked better on Candy. But Candy, you could have chose that yourself, because all of you went through that girl's catalog to find things you wanted. You chose that Elvira-looking jumpsuit, but it was a bad suit because it was kind of see-through. But she really wasn't feeling it like that, and she decided to try on Tamika's outfit, and her and Tamika kind of go back and forth a little bit, and Tamika's like, that's mine. But she says, but I could barely fit it. And she's saying, what you trying to say, Candy? She's like, well, you're a little thicker than I am. I'm like, okay, Candy, you being messy as hell, because damn well with any other stylist, they would have not allowed you to do that. That was not your outfit, and you didn't pick that. And she just like, well, I'm going to try it on anyway, because her and the girl, I forgot her name, put it down in the comments though, but we definitely know that they know each other from, because they kind of like in the same circles. But girl, no, you was really trying to start some shit, and Tamika wasn't having it. So pretty much, Mona Scott Young comes by, she brings them food, and when she sees like Tasha's crap, she's like, oh no, boo boo, you will not be wearing having your tits all out at the BET Awards, honey. You can wear that outfit for Detroit, but no, you need to be more covered up in your performance. So, pretty much, Tamika gets in that jumpsuit, and yeah, it's tight, but hey, Tamika made it work, and it definitely filled her out. So then We actually get their BET award performance. We definitely watched it. We definitely could tell they were a little shaky, but they delivered and the crowd loved it. So their performance at the BET Awards was a hit, and everything, was good. So that pretty much what happened with that, episode. Now, episode 4, we actually, get an eye-opener in this one as well. We actually meet Michael Malden. Now, Michael Malden is Jermaine's father. He's Jermaine Dupri's father, and at one point he used to be the manager for Xscape. And we can see there's a lot of tension between him and Tasha. Tasha was not feeling him being there at all. But he actually works with Live Nation, so they're looking for, promoters to help, build their tour. So pretty much we see that going on. But pretty much Tasha gives the backstory that after the group disbanded, Tasha got a solo deal. And she was working with Jermaine creatively. But Michael Malden, I think, was the head of Columbia at the time, and he used to be a former manager of them. So here it is. She thought this, and she also talks about that she was given a $300,000 advance for her solo deal, and she said that the money started dwindling, and she said she only went in the studio twice. But all of a sudden the money started dwindling, and she had all these expenses, and she tried to reach out to Michael Malden. Michael won't return her calls, completely shut her down, and next thing you know, Jermaine goes to a different label, and her stuff gets shelved, but yet she was still stuck with paying that $300,000 back. Because that's how it works. The record company gives you an advance, and you use that advance to do your project. And once your project once your project makes money, you actually recoup that money back, and what's ever left over belongs to you. So here it is. Even though she didn't even do a project, and even though she didn't get one song out, she still was responsible for paying that money back. So she got ripped off. And she's mad at Michael because Michael wasn't there for her, and she's like wondering what actually happened to the money. Because here it is, all my money got dwindled and I had no album. But I was so disgusted with this guy because he pretty much says that, so she pretty much explains why she feels the way she feels, and we can definitely see that Tasha is just really emotionally messed up by it, because she believed that he was her friend and that he had her back, but he left her hanging. And pretty much, Michael's like, well, I don't remember it really going down like that, but, I do apologize for not reaching out and not being there for you. So, you knew what was going on, and you intentionally ignored her ass. That's what I got out of it. And you pretty much decided to jump ship, and you just left her there to rot. And then this son of a bitch had a nerve to turn it, well, I apologize for what happened, but hey, things are a lot better now because now you getting bigger venues with Xscape than you ever would have gotten with the solo deal. But I'm here, I can, I'm a good promoter, and I could possibly do business with y'all. So you turned that apology into a sales pitch, and it was like that apology wasn't genuine, and Tasha didn't feel it at all. And we see that Tasha was sitting down with Tamika when she was talking to him, and we see from that point she was not having it, and we actually saw her get emotional, and she's like, I wanted to punch him in his face. Yeah, I wanted to punch him in his face too, girl. So at that moment, my heart went out to Tasha, because that was fucked up. Y'all promised her this, and she did what she was supposed to do, but you guys didn't do what you were supposed to do, and yet y'all put her in debt, and yet that solo deal that she was supposed to have never fell through. And we see that Michael Malden was probably behind it. So it was messed up. Then we see that they actually go perform at the Essence Festival. We're thinking that they were going to actually perform at the actual stage, No. They were performing in a sub room in this little stage in this real packed room. And I was like, that was messed up. Because they should have been on the main stage, you know, the big arena. But they are just in one of the sub rooms, kind of like one of the pre-shows to the big show. And, you know, they really weren't feeling it, but they delivered and they did what they had to do. Then they go to Detroit. Now, Detroit was a bigger venue, and they even talked about that Detroit sold out within 24 hours. So this is like one of their big dates. And Candy is still wondering, after Detroit, whether she's going to actually go on tour with them or is she going to walk away. And we see that Candy and Tamika are trying to work on rebuilding their sisterhood. And we see that, you know, Candy and Tamika are having this conversation at the park, and she was saying that, you know, I feel like what happened between us was a separation, not a divorce. Candy was like, bitch, I divorced your ass. I was like, yeah, boo-boo. She wasn't going to fuck with you or your sister anymore. She was done. But, you know, due to circumstances, it brought y'all back together, and y'all were kind of able to y'all were able to talk about some things, but we still see Candy still feel some kind of way. And, you know, I get it. You know, some people forgive differently. Not everybody is quick to forgive. Some people, it takes them a long time to truly forgive someone. And she has issues with forgiveness. And, you know, it was kind of funny that both her and Tasha had similar situations. Candy with Tamika and Tasha with Michael Malden. You know, and we actually see that, yeah, everybody, you know, heals in their own time. But while they were in Detroit, they actually do a phenomenal performance. T.I. actually comes there, you know, with the kids, you know, King, Major, and, you know, the baby, and it was just awesome that he finally did show up and show support to her, and, you know, that was great. And we see that, you know, he brought the kids, and, you know, everybody, the whole families are there, so that definitely helped Tiny, because Tiny was feeling some kind of way that after the BET Awards, he didn't show up to see Zanique or her, and she felt like, you know, here it is, and Tiny kind of put it out there that T.I. is used to her being a housewife, to her pretty much being just the mother, and her creative side literally had to take a back seat. But now that she wanted to get back into the game, T.I. really was not feeling that, because he liked it when Tiny was just his woman. But we actually see in this moment he did come out to support her, which was cool. But we also see that they decided to do, you know, and this is like one of my favorite tracks from the Humming Coming At You album, when they did Is My Living in Vain? I was like, yes, bring it back, y'all. My uncle used to play that out. You know, because my uncle was really into gospel, so he used to play that out, but that song was originally done by the Clark sisters. And baby, when they were performing, tell me why they brought out that powerful vocalist, Clarence Clark Sheard. Clarence Clark Sheard is not to be messed with. That is one powerful singing woman. She got pipes for days. She came out there singing with them. She started doing like this echo thing with her voice. She literally brought church up on that stage, and she sung circles around all of them. So they were even blown away. But after that performance, Tamika brings out Candy to the stage, and she's caught in the spirit. And I think this was genuine, because Clarence Clark Sheard brought God when she went on that stage. So after that, oh yes, Tamika got the spirit. She pulls Candy on stage, and she pretty much does it publicly. And it's like, look, I know I hurt you, and I thank God that you forgave me, but I'm letting you know that I'm here for you, and I got you, and I love you. And we see that it made Candy emotional, and Candy was like, you know, that really was touching, and I'm glad that she did that. And we saw that Tamika was actually broken down, and her confession was like, I hurt my sister, and I have to keep fighting to make it right. Yes, you do. You do. You know, and we see that she's constantly, you know, making that apology, letting Candy know that, look, I'm deeply sorry for what I did to you. But you hurt Candy deep. And when you hurt somebody to their core, they're not going to easily forgive you. But it was good that they actually came together, and then we also know, because we actually saw what happens live when Xscape was there, and we saw the drama that went down with that. And they pretty much confirmed at the end of this that Kandi decided to do the 28 dates of the tour, but as far as working on the new album or new music, Kandi has declined. But Tiny, Tamika, and Tasha are working on new music. I actually heard that new song, Dream Killers, is hot. But the question is it going to be accepted? Will 3 members of Xscape, will that be visually accepted? That's debatable. So we're going to have to stay tuned to see what's going to happen next. But, that's what I have, y'all. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments. I'd like to hear from you. But subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you get notifications every time I drop a video. Also, check out my social platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and also check out my GoFundMe. I also have that link down there also. Also, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. I literally enjoyed this because I love Xscape's music. And, I really do hope that, at the end of the day, Xscape still wins, whether Kandi's a part of the game or not. And I know it's going to be, for me, it's like, it's going to be kind of awkward without Kandi being there. But I heard that song, and that song sounds good. All 3 of them were slaying it on that track. So we just have to see whether 3 Xscape members will work out, because Kandi wants to do other things like Broadway and all of that. So Kandi has, her own agenda, and we can't be mad at Kandi for that, because Kandi at least stuck out for the rest of the tour, for the whole tour, which is good, and they're currently on tour right now. So yeah, I'm definitely happy for that. So thank you guys. I definitely like to hear your feedback on this, and definitely I like to hear your thoughts on this on this series. Xscape's still kicking it. So until next time, everybody, take care.